Wow. So today's an annoying Tuesday. We backslid a little bit on the 545. So went to put the center console in, which is done. That took about 3 hours. I had to go in and out a couple of times. All of the aftermarket wiring that he's done in here for the rear heated seats and the Bluetooth and all the crap that didn't come with the car, he made the connectors really, really short. So there's not enough excess wire to plug them in. With the console up in the air, it pretty much has to be in place. So that was really, really, really frustrating. More frustrating is the fact that he's added the cellular phone, or maybe it came with it, I don't know, the crap that hasn't worked in 20 years. And I tried to plug it in with the wires that are there, and it plugs in fine. But for some reason, that causes a break in the most bus. The most bus is the fiber optic bus for the Sirius radio, the navigation, the CCC nav computer, is all of that system. And when that ring is broken, the whole system shuts down, the modules go offline, no nav, the screen doesn't light up, nothing. So it took hours to kind of figure that out, and it blew fuse 20. For some reason, it's a 20 amp fuse in the trunk. It's not fuse number 20 amper. That is for the cigarette lighter or the power port, which is up here. And when we plugged that in, that blew, and that also caused the nav not to work. So just a super, super frustrating series of events that led to having the console in and out multiple times. And eventually we did figure out that you have to have that cell phone thing disconnected in both the big 2x7, 2x9 pin connector and the coaxial, like, Bluetooth antenna thing. So I don't know if that's going to be a problem for him, but that's the only way it works. In other news, we kept having a intermittent rear right tail light completely, and we found out this is no 4, so it shouldn't have come with the LCI taillights, but this connector here has to be pulled over towards the side. If you wiggle it at all or let the wire come straight out perpendicular to the tail lamp assembly, it does not work, and that causes a bunch of problems. So we've resolved all of that for now. The problem is the active steering light is back on, and the steering is heavy. Not as heavy as it was with the broken servo, and it's no longer complaining about a servo, but the light's on the dash, and that triggers a whole bunch of code. So we went from 64 to 14 down to like 5, and now we're back up at 12 because the steering angle will not initialize. We've tried the initialization process in ISTA a million times. It gets all the way to the end and just will not initialize. It says initialization failed, try again. We've tried it like 10 times. So, steering angle sensor, that's in the SZL module, which is behind the steering wheel and the airbag. It's a $650 module with a $500 core charge. They're known to be extremely problematic on this car. Why they went away from the little $40 sensor, I'll never know. I've only ever heard of one failing in an E39. These go all the time. So we're gonna have to talk to him tomorrow, see how he wants to proceed. On King Kong, it's got a factory clutch kit and flywheel installed now. We're just waiting on that transmission to come back from the same guy who's working on my car up in LA. Didn't get to the MPI yet again on this car. We are working on it. This red one is hanging out. One Silverstone cleaned up everything behind the fender liners today. Look at that. Wow, it's freaking clean. That's what the chassis is supposed to look like. Who knew? We did this for a two-part reason. One, the fender liner over here was missing one of the body nuts. The plastic's just all brittle and it breaks right off, so you can't install the mud flap or aerodynamic spat. Same deal over here, though this one was installed incorrectly because somehow the charcoal canister didn't get back in right. It's got hinges or two little pegs that go into a bracket on the chassis back here, and then it hinges up, and then there's a plastic nut that holds it here. And the hinges didn't get in, so it was hanging down low, which means that the collar, that part that sticks up right there on the rear fender liner, was running into the charcoal canister and not allowing it to move all the way up and seat on these studs in the chassis where the 10 mil nuts go to hold it on. And the plastic had crumbled away, and we didn't have the acceptors to screw in the mud flap, this thing. So we talked to the customer. He said order new fender liners. They're brittle and dirty anyways, so those are going to hit the dumpster. We'll get some new ones. And back to the 545i briefly, they took that wheel over and had that tire patched, so that should no longer be a problem. And then we've got Paul's, I think it's an 01 titanium M5. Somebody cut the springs or did something really dumb in the front, so it sits super, super low. So we're replacing the struts up here with genuines. I think maybe they're aftermarket. I don't remember exactly what it was. It's been a few weeks, but we finally got the parts. I ordered used springs from Adam, and we have almost everything we need. There's a cup reinforcement plate that goes on top of the bump stop on the new strut, And I did not order new ones. We're going to reuse them, which means I have to take them out of that car and disassemble those struts in order to get the plate that we need before we can put this together. There's minimal tension here. It's going to stay like that overnight. But we've got a new top mount, the new swivel bearing in there, top spring pad, lower spring pad, bump stop. Everything's going to be new except for that cup, which is literally just a middle cup, so we'll be fine. We'll do that tomorrow, hopefully get the struts done tomorrow. We're also doing stainless brake lines ×6. 3 tie rods, the center and the 2 outer tie rods on that car. And he added something else, like an oil change maybe, so we'll add that on there. And then back to King Kong, that thing, the centering sleeve in the drive shaft was dicked, so they had to heat this up till it was glowing hot, pour water on it. Then the slide hammer works after that shock, thermal shock, to pull the old bearing out. So the new one's in, drive shaft's ready to go in. We just need a transmission, obviously. So the tires, we took the wheels off of this car over, and the new tires, the second set that I was sent months ago, those are done. We'll pick them up tomorrow, then we'll have some wheels on it so it can come off the lift. This one should be able to go on and start the strut work. So as usual, lots going on. The Le Mans car is done. I'm going to pick that up tomorrow morning, post detail. So that's going to come in here probably where the F10 is and get covered up until we find that last rear style 65, so we can get a set complete for him, and then that one's off to Florida. So I'm going to go home, take a shower. I think we're going to get in and out. I got to rest my back. I'll talk to you guys tonight. $12:02. It's technically Wednesday. Then we're going to put Tuesday to bed. I came back, took a shower, went out, picked up some quick bite for dinner. Came back here and kind of just talked and hung out with my dad Mike for a little bit. Played some GTA when my dad went to bed. And now we're exhausted and going to get some sleep. Tomorrow I've got to pick up Le Mans Blue. We're going to be working on Paul's car and the struts like I talked about before. Plenty to do. We'll talk to you then on Wednesday. Good night.